what does your LinkedIn profile say about you and your experience? And I loved what you guys had in the advertisement. Networking isn't how many people you know, it's how many people know you. And the way for people to find you is on LinkedIn. And having an all-star profile, today you'll learn how to create your all-star profile. That's helped me go from 5 years ago, having less than 100 people on my LinkedIn profile, to now having over 6,000 people connected with me on LinkedIn. Today, first we'll look at how to create your all-star profile, what's required of that. Then we'll look at what content you need to share to get noticed by others. And most important, we'll talk about the correct way to connect with someone on LinkedIn and go on discuss a few ways not to connect with people on LinkedIn. So let's get started. Why do you want an all-star profile? If you want to be seen by a recruiter, an all-star profile will make you 27 times more likely to show up in a search. So what's required for an all-star profile? First, you need to upload your photo. It makes your profile 14 times more likely to be viewed. I don't normally connect with someone that doesn't have a LinkedIn profile picture. I just don't do it. Or I'll message them and say, I'll gladly connect with you if you put a profile picture on your LinkedIn profile. And when they do, then I connect with them. The one thing you want to make sure with your photos that you use, though, LinkedIn is more of a professional. It's not Facebook, it's not Instagram. So when you have a picture, it needs to be a professional looking picture. It doesn't need to be suit and tie, but it does need to be presentable. So the little picture here of the girls partying with a bottle of whiskey, that's not what you want to put on your LinkedIn profile. It needs to look good, no t-shirts, make it look like at least business casual. The next thing is the About You section. This is another misused part of most LinkedIn profiles. I'll look at people's About You, and they will list all of the things they know and all of the things that they do. And that's not what that About is for. If you look, they'll list out every skill, and there's a whole other section within LinkedIn for you to list your skills. This isn't where you do that. This is where you describe yourself so they understand who you are. So we'll look at my About section, and you'll see that it talks about who I am as a husband, a father, and so forth. So we'll take a look at that in a few minutes. Next, you want to include all of your experience. This even includes your volunteer experience. If you're the president of IEEE, include this experience on your resume. Especially as college students, you may not have as much work experience. So if you worked at your family's restaurant or you worked at a fast food restaurant, include that, but then focus on the important things that you did. Interacting with customers, managing the back office, those types of things, those are experiences that you can include in your LinkedIn profile. The other thing you want to show is those volunteer experiences show that you have a life outside just school and work. You want to show that you're trying to give back in some way. Maybe it's volunteering with a local charity or your church or something like that. And those are also good things to show that a positive thing about you and your experience. Next, you want to keep it simple, but you want to go into detail. So you want to be concise with the information that you put in the descriptions of your experience. A good example is you want to show the things that you did that had big impacts with either the projects or things like that when you were working. So if you worked on a project where your team saved $1 million, then say, I worked on a team solving this problem and we saved $1 million. Or maybe you worked on a project where you reduced the cycle time of a process by 50%. You want to show the things that made a impact to the company so that they look at you and say, maybe they can make that same impact at my company. So that's what you're trying to put in there, is the things where you made an impact. You want to share your experience as well as your education. So that any degrees you have, certifications, and all your ongoing learning. I'm in Toastmasters, and I don't know whether you guys are in Toastmasters or have heard of Toastmasters, but Toastmasters counts. I have my Distinguished Toastmaster, which took me 3 years to earn, and I have that listed on my education. And I also have all of the certifications I've received from Toastmasters on how to be a better communicator and leader. So those are things that you can include as well. So organizations, if you get a certification through some kind of, like maybe Program Management Institute has program management certifications, those things should be included as well. There is a section on skills. And like I said, a lot of people list those skills and about. You need to use the skills section. And when you have a profile that has 5 or more skills listed, that gets your profile viewed 17 times more than someone who does not. So listing your skills in that skills section is very important. Then you need to reach out to your connections and endorse their skills. So if they have skills listed and you know that, say your friend is very good at public speaking, so you endorse them for public speaking, they look back and say, you're really great at connecting, and they endorse you for connecting. So it goes back and forth. So the more people you recommend for skills, the more people will recommend back to you. So that's the best way to grow that. Speaking of recommendations, it's also important to have recommendations on your resume. I actually only have one, which is probably my glaring need on my resume or on my LinkedIn profile. But it's a very good recommendation that I've received, and I have several more that are on my website, but not on my LinkedIn profile. Go to other people's profile and do a recommendation for them if you have something nice to say about them, and then ask them to do the same thing. Most people won't go back and forth to see whether you endorse someone else just so they would endorse you. There are people that will do that. Recruiters will honestly do that on a regular basis. So it's best if you can find someone that would give you a recommendation without you having to give them a recommendation. Moms and dads are off limit. Don't have your mom give you a glowing recommendation, because that's just bad. No one wants to see a recommendation from your parents and how cute you were as a kid. So make sure that you have a recommendation from someone that matters. Professors are okay. Former bosses are also good as far as recommendations. So now let's talk about the content that will get you noticed on LinkedIn. The more content you share on LinkedIn, the more views you will receive. I used to be a lot more active on LinkedIn. I would post probably 2 or 3 times per day, and I'd average between 200 to 4,000 views on most of my posts. I'm currently doing a lot of work and writing a book, so I don't post on LinkedIn quite as much. I'm still on LinkedIn every single day. The algorithm for LinkedIn is now set up to reward people who share video. So I'm trying to expand the video that I show on LinkedIn to get more visibility. If you show videos in your content, LinkedIn will automatically show it to more people than if you just include text or a picture. So the best camera that you have is that smartphone with a video. You can take videos with your smartphone and upload them. Just make sure, again, they look professional. So you want to have the same thinking that you would have when you create your profile picture. And talk about something that's important to you. Maybe it's something that you're learning in school, maybe something you're passionate about. So for me, I speak a lot on leadership and do videos on leadership. So those are the types of things that you should share on content, things that will help other people you're connected with learn and grow. And again, this doesn't mean what you would post on Facebook and Instagram. So it's not cat videos or dog videos or stupid human tricks. You don't want to show your friends doing silly stuff at a party. Those aren't the kind of videos that you want to put on LinkedIn. I also, like I said, I'm on LinkedIn every day, and I regularly share the content that my connections have put onto LinkedIn, and I like a lot of their content as well. And the other thing I do is I comment on their content. The reason you want to do that is LinkedIn's algorithm also looks at a post, and the more people that share it and comment on it and like it, the more people they will show it to. So that's one thing that you want to do, is to help your connections. If you like and share and comment on their post, most people will do the same thing to you. So that means your post will be seen by more people, not just the viral aspect of them sharing your content, but the algorithm will notice that and share it with people as well. So that's a great way to get your content seen, is to share other people's content and have them share yours. I take a few minutes every day and I congratulate people on new jobs and promotions. If you click on notifications, and I'll show you how to do this in a few minutes, I start with normally the auto-generated responses, because I say a lot of the same things. Thank you, you're welcome, it's my pleasure. But I normally add something personal if I know the person personally. I do have 6,000 connections, so there's some people that I've only met through LinkedIn. I also do the same thing for birthdays, and I'm probably more focused on wishing people a happy birthday. And I learned that from Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I read that when I was in high school. And that book, he talks about people see their birthday as their special day. And you need to understand that when you wish somebody a birthday, happy birthday, that's special to them, because that is their special day. So I try to wish everybody a happy birthday when it's their birthday. And I change, since I've been connected with people for 3 or 4 years now, I say different things every year. So I'm not saying happy birthday every year. I might say happy birthday one year. I normally say happy birthday again the second year. And then I'll third year, maybe enjoy your day. I hope you enjoyed your special day, things like that. So the longer I've been connected with people, the more focused I am on adding to that content. Now, I've mentioned I have over 6,000 connections. And I was like you. When I started on LinkedIn, it was about, I started my LinkedIn, but I only had about 100 connections. And that was only about 5 or 6 years ago. And so in the last 5 or 6 years, I went from less than 100 connections to over 6,000 connections. And it takes time, because you can connect with a lot of people, but you want to make sure you're truly connecting with those people. So when I connect with people, I started with my coworkers and friends, But now I actually connect with anyone who shows that they have 100 mutual connections with me. If they have less, most of the time I don't connect with them. But if they have 100 mutual connections, and I'll show you what I mean in a few minutes, I'll send them an invite. Sometimes I send them an invite with no message, which is okay. But if they don't connect with me, I'll follow up with a personalized message, letting them know why I'm trying to connect with them. You know, maybe they have a connection with TEDx and I've given 2 TEDx, or maybe they do complex problem solving. So I mention why I'm trying to connect with them, and then most of the time they do connect with me. I think a personalized invite is good, but the one thing you don't want to do when you make your first contact, or really even your second contact with someone on LinkedIn, you don't want to try to sell them. LinkedIn is where you are marketing yourself. And even if you want a job or an opportunity with someone or to work with someone, start out creating a relationship before you try to do for your big ask. So I would say that the first thing to do is connect with somebody, share some content that they would appreciate before you talk about trying to talk with them one-on-one, maybe on a Zoom or something like that, or a Teams meeting like this, before you try to make an ask for, you know, a job or an assignment or something like that. So take your time. Don't immediately connect with somebody and then ask them for a job. That's most people are turned off by that. Kind of like when you get a phone call from a telemarketer where they call you and say, hey, you know, do you want to buy this? It's the first time they've called me and they're trying to sell me. I'm not going to listen to that. And it's the same way on LinkedIn. The other thing is the majority of people accept my connections because I have an all-star profile. So as we go through today, you'll create your all-star profile and they'll be much more likely to connect with you. So I'm going to teach you a couple other tricks that you can use to connect with people using LinkedIn. Most of these tricks are actually better when we're all in the same room, which unfortunately, thanks to COVID, is a little bit more difficult. But I've discovered some tricks and tips that you can use when you're in a group like this, where you're actually in the same room. You can connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn really quickly. So let me show you some of those tricks. LinkedIn has a QR code scanner to quickly connect with people. I have shown that to a lot of different people, and I use it to connect with them. Most people have no idea that there's a QR scanner on LinkedIn. So when I show that to them, they're always, wow, I didn't even know that. So that's a great way to quickly make a connection with somebody, both through LinkedIn and personally, because you've added value to them. I've shown them something they didn't know before. So that's always a great way for me to connect with people one-on-one when I'm face-to-face. So if you look at the picture, you can see the little blue screen under tip number 5, and there's a little square in the search bar. If you click on that, it will open up a scanner, or it will open up your QR code. So you can see here, this is my QR code, and it's a little small. So let me see if I can expand it for you. Just zoom it out. Hopefully you guys can see that. So this little four squares here, that's the QR code. If you click on that, it will open up your QR code and a scanner, and you can scan other people's QR codes, or they can scan yours. So this is my QR code. This QR code, I have actually added to the back of my business card as well. So if I give someone a business card, they will also be able to connect with me on LinkedIn just by scanning the QR code on the back of my business card. So 2 great ways to connect with people, not just with a business card, but on LinkedIn. Okay. The other function is the nearby, find nearby. If you go to LinkedIn, and I'm going to zoom these out because they're just really small here. If you go to LinkedIn, you'll see that there's a, if you click on My Network within LinkedIn, you'll see a little blue circle with a person on it. That's on your phone. If you click on that, it's going to open up another menu that looks like this. Oh, make this one to the front. Okay. And you can see that you can add a contact. You can also scan the QR code that I just mentioned, or you can find nearby. If you click on find nearby and turn it on, if you're in a room, like right now, we have 54 people in this Teams meeting. If we were in a room networking and we all clicked on find nearby, all of our phones would connect and we would be able to quickly connect on LinkedIn with everybody in the room. So it's a great way when you're face-to-face networking to be able to connect with a lot of people in a short amount of time. And it will send an invite to everybody that you click on, and everybody in the room can connect just like that. It's a great tool when you're networking face-to-face. Okay? So now, again, a lot of this was pre-COVID, and unfortunately, there's not quite as many tools post-COVID that are as handy as these, but once COVID is over, these are great tools that you can use when you're connecting and networking. Unfortunately, with COVID, the best way to do it is to look for the recommendations that LinkedIn gives you as far as connections, and I'll show you that in a couple minutes on my profile. You can connect with a lot of people on LinkedIn because a lot of people are on LinkedIn because of COVID. So that's some things that I'll show you in just a minute. So let's take a look at my profile, and then we'll go through the worksheet that you were provided, and then we'll review some of your profiles. You guys ready? Give me 1 second to switch between windows here. Okay. So can you guys just let me know what screen you're seeing? Hopefully you're seeing my LinkedIn profile, correct?
Yes, it's visible, sir.
Okay. So let me show you what I'm talking about with All-Star Profile. So this is my dashboard. So only I can see this on LinkedIn, but it shows me what my profile is doing on LinkedIn. And you can see here I have an all-star profile. So 478 people have viewed my profile in the last 90 days. So almost 500 people. 71 people have viewed my latest post, and I've shown up in 160 searches in the last 90 days as well. Now, that number may look a little smaller, but I don't have my profile opened up as looking for a job. So when a recruiter does a search for me, they may not see me because I say my profile says I'm not actively looking for a job. If I was actively looking for a job and they did a search, I would show up and probably, I would venture to guess that probably would be at least 10 times, so probably close to 1,600 searches, if that was the way I had my profile set up. Okay. So now let's look at the things that I've done to make my profile all-star. The first thing is, like I said, I have a picture. This was a professional picture by a professional photographer, and it's just a picture of me looking off thoughtfully. And I actually changed the color from color to a kind of a gray color, and I just thought it looks good, and I use that on a lot of my not just LinkedIn, but across social media as well. This screen here, and you can see that this, instead of being the blue screen, that actually LinkedIn changed the screens just in the last couple of weeks from the old blue screen that they had to a newer blue screen. But it's important to have as many pictures as you can. So here is my profile picture, but this is actually me standing on a TEDx stage, which when someone comes to my page, they now know very quickly that I'm a TEDx speaker and that I'm probably available for some kind of speaking. The other thing is you can see that it has my company name, Protein Quality Systems. It has Trine University, where I went to school to study engineering. It has my home city. I live in Anderson, South Carolina in the United States. It shows I have over 500 plus connections. And you can see down here my activity. I have 6,175 followers. So why they still stop it at 500 connections, I don't know, but that's what LinkedIn does. Excuse me. Now, the first thing I have is you can see my title. I'm Michael Arnold, DTM, that's Distinguished Toastmasters. It's the highest designation you can get within Toastmasters as far as public speaking and leadership. So I have that on there because it's a recognized designation. But then my description, my profile description, which we'll talk about how you create yours in a few minutes, it describes who I am. First and foremost, I'm a husband to my wife. I'm a father to my sons. I'm a quality guy. I've been in quality my entire career. I started as a quality engineer, and now I'm a continuous improvement quality manager working on solving complex problems. So I just describe myself as a quality guy. I could say quality engineer, quality manager, but I don't. I just say quality guy. I'm a two-time TEDx storyteller, so I don't see myself as a speaker. I see myself as a storyteller. I like telling stories because I've realized that stories are what people remember. They don't remember the facts and the figures, they remember the stories. So I think that's a powerful way to speak publicly. So if you want to be a better public speaker, focus on getting better at telling your stories. I'm a REDX journeyman, which is a Shannon complex problem solving statistical methodology. I'm a Six Sigma black belt coach, and I teach Six Sigma as well. And then I'm a writer. I've written for several medias, social medias, and news media on the internet. And I'm also now an online summit host. I hosted my first summit this year, which was all about learning how to be a TEDx speaker. So you can quickly see all of the things that I'm passionate about and that I do just in my profile. And we'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Now, this is a very important section that I think a lot of people either don't use or use incorrectly, but it's the about. So this is where I describe who I am. And if you watch my TEDx, you'll recognize some of this. And it's, I watched Neil Armstrong step onto the moon. So I was born in 1969, but I watched them step onto the moon sitting on my grandpa's knee. So I was only 9 months old. I don't actually remember actually, I wasn't even 9 months old. That's higher math, 3 months old. But I watched the moon landing on my grandpa's knee, and he passed away when I was 9 months old. But I always wanted to be an astronaut. And then when I got to high school, I discovered I couldn't be an astronaut because the maximum height was 6 foot 1 inches tall, and I was 6'4", so I was 3 inches too tall. So I'm 76 centimeters, and I think the maximum height was about 70 centimeters. So I was basically 6 centimeters too tall to be an astronaut. So I was crushed. But then I realized I could become an engineer and design taller spaceships. So you'll see my logo now is building your taller spaceship, because ever since then, I've been trying to build my taller spaceship. So as you go through here, you'll see that this isn't talking about my skills and what I do. It's about who I am. So when we go through the worksheet in a few minutes, we'll go through you describing who you are in the about section. So you can see I talk about my wife and that we married from high school, our 2 sons and what they're up to, and what I've been focused on. There's a little bit of what I do, but it's really what I do that makes an impact. So I averaged over $1 million in cost avoidance every year of my career. And those are the kind of things that I talk about. And then I talk about my TEDx. So these are the things that you're putting in there. It's kind of like your elevator speech is a good way to think of it. It's when someone asks, what do you do, or what do you like to do? That's what your about page is like. So that's more than, I took this course, I worked on this project, that type of thing. The other thing I include is I'd include my website, all of my social media, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. I have a couple pages on Facebook for my different coaching and storytelling. A new thing that they've just added on LinkedIn, and I have to admit, I'm a big fan of it. They added this probably really within about the last year, and it's the featured section. And this, I think, is another great way for you to be able to advertise who you are. So if you worked on a big project, or you did something in social and you got noticed on social media or somewhere in the news, you can post those. So if you made a presentation at a conference or those types of things, that's what you can put in the featured. So you can see that my TEDx talk has actually been picked up by TED.com this year. So you can now see my TEDx talk on TED.com. So I've got my TEDx, and you can click on this and it will take you to TED.com so you can watch my TEDx speech. There's the Successful Storytelling Summit that I launched this year. If you click on that, it'll take you to sign up for the summit, which will relaunch in January. And I've added lots of different things. So my website, my YouTube channel, and those are the types of things that you can put on here, make it easy for people to connect with you in other ways. So the featured section is very powerful, and I've been very happy with having that. I think it makes the profiles, again, LinkedIn is all focused on visual. They like the idea of pictures and video. So this is a great way for you to share your connections. I mentioned that 71 people have viewed a post that I shared. So I shared a post from, I think it was Daniel Pink, and made a comment to it. and 71 people have seen that post. So this was my latest post. You can see here, I'm honored to share with you guys today. So I had 3 reactions there, and people saw that post. I actually am on the committee for my local TEDx. So I actually supported the launch of our TEDx, which we did a few weeks ago. So I did a lot of posts and videos and pictures from the TEDx event. So you can see there's comments and reactions from that. So you can see I'm not quite as active as I used to be, but you can see I have a lot of activity. I like people's posts, I share them, things like that. So you can see it was Daniel Pink. It was Daniel Pink. So I said, when I hear that's the way we've always done it, that's when it's go time. So I am not a fan of doing things the way they've always been done. And that's because I'm always trying to build my taller spaceship. So let's go down a little bit further. I mentioned experience, and again, as we go through the worksheet, we'll look at that. You can see I have my own company now for the last 3 years. I've included that I was a summit host, and the other thing that you can do is you can create links in your experiences. So I have a link to the summit sign up. I have that web page, and you can see that I've been doing that for 8 months. I'm a successful storytelling trainer, so I do storytelling training. I've done it at local universities and United Ways in several areas, and I've been doing that for a little over. And I founded my company just over 3 years ago, and you can see my website. So if you have, again, say you spoke at IEEE's Congress that I spoke at back in August, you could link in that you spoke as a speaker and actually have a link to the speech that they posted on Facebook. So we can go down here. Here's a good example. I spoke at the IEEE Power and Energy Society Congress, and I actually have the links to the speeches that they posted on Facebook. So you can click to those and it will take you to Facebook and show you me speaking at the Congress. So that's a good way if someone's looking for you to work for them, they can see who you are through your LinkedIn profile by adding those to your experience. It's a great way to share. You can see I've included, I have my current job. I am a continuous improvement manager for a company called TTI. I'm a coach and trainer and speaker for the John Maxwell team. And I'm a 2-time TEDx speaker. So you can see that I spoke at TEDx Clemson University, and you can click this and it'll take you to a video of my talk. Education, I mentioned that earlier. You can see I went to Trine University. I'm a mechanical engineer. And you can see I spent a year at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University prior to that. I mentioned my certifications. I have my Distinguished Toastmaster and all of the certifications I've gotten from Toastmasters. LinkedIn, there's a lot of learning on LinkedIn, and when you complete that learning, you take a test, and you can actually get certifications from LinkedIn. So if you really want to learn how to be a better communicator, better leader, they have tons of learning where you can take that and be able to get a certification. So if you don't have any certifications, it's a great way to add certifications to your LinkedIn profile. Volunteer experience. You can see I've been a teacher for junior achievement. I've helped with other people launching their books. I'm a treasurer and elder at my church. So I do a lot of things outside of just working and speaking. So that's good so that people can see that you have a life outside of just those things. Excuse me. So we talked about skills and endorsements. This is where you list your skills. So you can see, I think it'll tell me. You can see all of the skills that I have. Most of them are related to my quality experience, but then you can see my problem solving and my public speaking and leadership is on there. And you can see how many people are actually have recommended that. But that's a good way for recruiters to see what you're good at. So this is a great way to share what you're good at, as opposed to just listing them out in your About section. I mentioned that I have one recommendation and I've given one recommendation. You can see those recommendations here. That kind of lets a recruiter know that other people value what you do. Accomplishments, that's another weak spot for me. I only know one language. I've tried to learn Japanese and German and Spanish, and I could probably order a meal, and that's about all I can do in those other languages. So I don't actually list them on my LinkedIn profile. The last thing that I have is interest, and it's the people that I follow on LinkedIn. So you can see all of the people and groups that I'm involved with by clicking on that. And so you can see who I'm connected with. Have some interest, connect with some people and companies and groups. If you are interested in working for a company, make sure that when they click on companies, their company's on there. So if you apply to work for, I'm trying to think of a company, Walt Disney. If you want to work for Walt Disney, make sure that you're following Walt Disney if you apply, so that when that recruiter comes to your website or to your LinkedIn profile, they see that you've actually are following Walt Disney. Does that make sense? Okay. So I've thrown a lot of information at you in a short amount of time. And what we're going to do next is we're going to take some time to go through the worksheet. And I'll probably go through the worksheet a little bit faster than I normally would, so that we can actually look at some of you guys' profiles, and I can give you some tips and tricks on your profiles. Okay? Oh, I'm going to show you one more trick before I go away from my profile. So this picture up here, it's real easy to change your pictures. When you're on your profile, you see the little pencil. Just click on it, and you can change your photo, and you can crop it. You can change whatever you want. But LinkedIn has made it a little bit easier to do your photos, but it's not difficult to do. Maybe you haven't been standing on a TEDx stage. That's okay. But maybe you can take a picture and put on there of your university. Or maybe you're a big fan of, probably steer away from sports teams, but maybe you have a picture of, I'm forgetting the name here, I apologize. I want to say baseball, and baseball is US. Can you help me out here? What's the sport that you guys love in India? I cannot think of it. It's like baseball, but with a flat.
It's cricket. Oh, we love cricket.
What I was looking for. Sorry about that. So maybe you're on the cricket team for NorthCap. So maybe you have a picture of the cricket field, and that way they know that not only are you studying engineering, that you're also an athlete with cricket for NorthCap. Or maybe you have the engineering building at NorthCap, and you put that on there. So that's a picture that you could put on there as well. Hasala, who I worked with when we did the Congress, he has a picture of the Clemson University campus on his. So that's something that you could do if you don't have a picture of you standing on a stage or like I do. Okay? Thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes I just forget those words. I'm getting old.
It's okay. A lot of people from USA don't know about it.
Yeah. Oh, so let's go to the worksheet. Okay. Can you guys see the worksheet?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm just going to quickly go through this, and I'll let you guys answer these questions outside of today's meeting so that we can focus on going through some of your profiles and giving you some tips and tricks on your actual profiles. So the first section is that profile headline. So that was what I was talking about. Switch over here. That's this title here, husband, father, quality guy. That's what we're trying to create. So you want to write down everything you do for a living. So if you are a student and you're the president of IEEE and you're a cricket player, those are the types of things that you want to write down on this. List everything you do. You know, maybe you're not a husband or a father, but maybe you're a son, and you know you work with your parents. Maybe they have a business that they run, or you know maybe you're just a son, and that's okay. Just put the son or daughter on there. That's something that you are, and you're trying to let the people on LinkedIn know that you are human. And that's important to have on there. That's why I have it on there, because I'm a husband and a father. Those things are important to me. And if it's important for you to be a son or a daughter to your parents, put that on there. That's great. Then once you list everything out, the next thing you'll do is you'll rewrite that in the order of importance for you. So for me, I wrote husband, father, quality guy. So I wrote it in the order of importance to me. So that's what you'll do on that second section. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to let you guys do that outside of today's workshop so we can get to look in some of your profiles. But let's go to the next section. What are you an expert at, or what are you passionate about doing? This is what that about section is all about. It's all about you. So describe you and what excites you and makes you unique. So like I said, I wanted to be an astronaut, and I'd tell the story of why I wanted to be an astronaut, and then I couldn't be an astronaut and why I became an engineer focused on solving complex problems. So that's how my history as a person, that's what I'm describing there. So you want to do the same thing. You know, you guys have decided to be IEEE engineers. What made you want to be an engineer? Was it your dad was an engineer and that has inspired you? Are you passionate about solving big problems, like you want to be the creator of the next AI or whatever the case may be? Describe what you're passionate about. Maybe that passion isn't just engineering. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's helping humanity. You know, maybe you're going to be the next Mother Teresa. I don't know. That's what you want to write down about in that about section. I also want you to write what you want others to know about you, any special skills. So for me, I have my Shannon and Six Sigma designations. Those are complex statistical problem-solving methodologies that I use on a daily basis for my jobs. So I have those on there. My values, you know, what's important to me is my family. So that's why I have on there my husband and my wife, and I talk about my wife and my kids in my about section. And then those career goals, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? For me, I still want to be an astronaut, and I'm hoping that Elon Musk or Richard Branson help me get into space at some point. So that's still a goal for me. So those are the types of things that you want to put on there, that you want to be the next Elon Musk or whatever the case may be. Okay. So let's go to the next page. This is talking about experience. So where have you worked? Many of you may not have as many jobs since you're in school, But if, like I said, if you worked for a family restaurant, or you worked for a family business, or you worked for a fast food business or a retail store, go ahead and put that on there, but then talk about what impact you made. So if you were working in a restaurant and you were seen as Employee of the Month because you were the best at customer service, put that on there. You want to talk about the impacts you've made in your work experience. The other thing is, if you are a student and you don't have as much work experience, talk about the activities that you have in school. So like IEEE, if you're a vice president of IEEE and you helped increase the membership of IEEE from 10 people to 50 people, you can say you did a 5-time increase in the members of IEEE since I took over as the vice president. Those are the kind of things you're looking for, okay? You want to list all of the places you worked previously, so the jobs and what you did there. So if you worked, say you worked in a restaurant and you started out sweeping the floors and you moved up to being a cook, to moving up to the front counter, running the cash registers, show all of that progression. And that progression shows that you were given a little bit of responsibility and grew it into a lot of responsibility. So even in a simple job like that, you want to show that progression and growth. So show that growth in those former jobs. The other thing that I include is unique opportunities. I've done keynote speeches, I've done TEDx speeches. So I actually have those listed. When we looked at my profile, you could see it. I was a TEDx speaker at Clemson University. That's part of my experience, and I have that on there. So list those types of things as well. We talked about what you've learned. So if you still haven't gotten your degree, that's okay. But once you do, make sure you immediately include that on your profile. Any certifications, like I said, if you don't have any certifications, look for opportunities. Maybe it's doing a certification on Teachable or within LinkedIn Learning, but you might be able to get some quick certifications that way to make your profile look a little bit bigger and bulkier. One second. I've been talking. I need a drink here. Okay. How do you serve other people? So this is your volunteer activities that I mentioned. It's good for them to see that you are giving back. I'm a big fan of giving back. I work with my church. I've worked with my kids were in Cub Scouts. I was a basketball and soccer coach for my kids. So I've tried to give back as much as I can, which is one of the reasons I'm a coach now, because it's giving back my experience to the people that I work with. So go ahead and include those things. You know, I wasn't a scoutmaster, but I was helped with my kids' Cub Scouts, volunteered in soup kitchens. If you're IEEE president, put that on there. So list those volunteer activities that you have, okay? So again, that's the worksheet. It gives you some good ideas on what you need to do to be able to make your profile an all-star profile. But I'm going to let you guys do that afterwards. And let's go ahead and identify some profiles for us to take a look at, so we can give some feedback and show how you can update those profiles, okay? And our first volunteer is Vibhuti. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So the first thing you have to do is you have to get rid of that picture right there, right?
Yes, definitely.
But I like your profile picture. That's a professional. It looks professional. You know, you look a little angry, but it's always good to have a smile in your picture. but I do, it's a good picture. It shows you working on something. So I think that's a professional picture. I like that. You've got IEEE, which is good, in your university. Your contact info. Let's look and see what I can find out about you. So I have your LinkedIn profile, I have your email, and when we connected. So some of the things we didn't really look at my contact info. Let's go back for 1 second. Oop. So if we look at my contact info, you can see that I've got my profile, I have my website, my company website, my summit website, my email, I've got my Twitter, and I've got my birthday. I used to have my phone number, but I started getting some weird phone calls, so I took my phone number off just because I'm connected with so many people. I don't want 6,000 people calling me. But you can also put your phone number on there as well. Okay? So the other thing we need to do is we need to get that 181 connections up, right? So let's look at my network real quick to talk about how we can do that. So it looks like I've had
one question pertaining to the the connections part.
Yeah.
So it's an anonymous question actually from Slido. It says that should we accept connection requests from unknown people, like people who we have no idea about?
Normally, I accept almost everybody that tries to connect with me on LinkedIn, I connect with. So when I look at their profile, if their profile looks like they're trying to connect with me to learn from me, I'll connect with them. So like here, you guys are reaching out and connecting with me. You've got profile pictures. I'm probably going to accept all of these. In fact, I'll go ahead and accept them all real quick. I like to accept as many as I can so that I can have those connections, so I can give back to you guys and I can learn from you guys. So you can see as I did that, it offered up some other people that I might be able to connect with on LinkedIn that are connected to the people I just connected with. And maybe there's only one mutual connection. So let's see, some profiles, but nobody that has a lot of connections with me. So I probably won't connect with too many of those people because they may not want to connect with me. But normally, yes, I connect with somebody. If they have a profile picture, I think I've only had maybe 3 or 4 times that I connected with somebody, and then all they did was in message try to sell me. It was almost like spam. That's only been about 3 or 4 people. And what I did was I made it so they were no longer connections. And so I'm no longer connected with those 3 or 4 people. But on Twitter and Facebook, I've had a lot more problems with people, in essence, sending me spam, but I've not had that problem with LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a little bit better at controlling that type of activity. If they see an account that is fake, most of the time they'll remove it from LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a fairly safe environment to take a post or take a connection from someone you don't know. But the nice thing is you can learn a lot about that person by looking at their profile if they have a good profile. Okay? Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. So here in my connections, it offers some events that I might be interested in. And sometimes I do go to some of these events. Some of them are not for me, like I have no interest in cannabis investing, but I click and that takes it out of my profile, and they won't show me those types of things in the future. But you can see free speed networking, some of the other things that I like to see. But here's what I wanted to show you. So here's people that I might know in the Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson area where I live. You can see that some of them have a lot of connections, don't have a lot of connections. So Gary Cecil, I have worked with Gary. I know Gary. He doesn't have a profile picture, so I probably will reach out to Gary and let him know he needs a profile picture. I also work with Tracy. Tracy doesn't do a lot on LinkedIn. I need to give him a hard time about that as well. But let's go ahead and connect real quick with Gary. So I just connected with Gary, and we'll see whether he connects back with me. Now, I'll probably follow up with a message with Gary saying, hey, you need to add a profile picture, Gary. And he'll probably connect with me when he sees that message so that he knows that it's really me. But most of the time, and let's see if I can find someone here. If we go down, most of the time here's a good example. So Michael, we have 153 mutual connections, and he was the president of one of the divisions at the company that I currently work at. Unfortunately, Mike was let go from his job earlier in the year, so we are not connected. And I knew Mike and we were going to connect, but we never did because he was let go from the company, and I've just never made a connection with him. But normally, if I have 100 or more mutual connections, I'll quickly connect with those people. So I'm going to go ahead and connect with Michael because I think he's probably looking for a job and maybe I can help him out. But normally, if you have 100 or more connections with someone, and in your case, maybe you don't have that many connections overall, so maybe you start out with 50. So Christina Shorts, I know Christina, she works over at Clemson. We've met a couple times in different activities. I could connect with her, and more than likely, she knows me and I know her, so we'll probably connect. So that's a good example of what you're looking for is if you see someone, so like here, you guys are already connected with these people, but when you connect with them, maybe you see someone you know, but you're not connected with. Go ahead and connect with them, and that grows your connections, and that's very important on LinkedIn because it's all about connections. Okay, so let's go back here. So again, need to look at a good picture. So what would be a good picture for you to put there?
Maybe something related to if I'm at an IEEE, when things get normal at an IEEE Congress or an event or something of that sort, probably, or maybe while playing volleyball, if that's fine.
Yeah, and that's a good example is, you know, I would venture to guess you could probably go out to the IEEE website and they probably have some kind of banner that you could take from their website and use for that picture. So that would advertise that you are in IEEE. When I'm a recruiter and I'm looking for someone that's a computer engineer or an electrical engineer, and I see that they have IEEE right there, I'm going to look deeper into their profile, correct? So that's a good thing that you could put there is a banner that has the logo from IEEE. So that lets them know that that's your interest, and they're going to go down into your profile, which is what you want. It's kind of like a resume. They say that most people will only spend about less than 10 seconds looking at a resume. So you have to have something there that captures their attention. So when we look at this, we want that to be something that captures their attention. So if they're looking for an engineer, then you want to have something up there that says, hey, I'm an IEEE engineer. So that would be a great picture to put up there.
Okay, so that's a good tip for all the IEEE volunteers out here.
Yeah, and it is. If all of if all of you have this blank screen here, go ahead and just get you can go to the IEEE website and copy a picture and put it on there, or do a Google search for IEEE pictures. Okay, so maybe you spoke at the conference, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, in like a networking sessions and all that stuff.
Okay, so actually, if you go out to Facebook, a lot of those sessions are out there. Maybe you could get a picture of you actually speaking on the screen and put it up there. And maybe the logo is on there. That might be another great picture to put on there. So to show not only are you an engineer, you are active in IEEE. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So now let's look at activities. So you've done some post?
In my defense, I'll just say I'm very inactive on LinkedIn. I'm just going to be honest. The only activity I've had in the past few days is the conversation that I've had with you. That's all.
That's okay. And I'm not trying to pick on you. We're all here to grow on LinkedIn, right? So I like the things that you've done. You know, here's a good example. So when people look, they can see what you're sharing and what you're liking. You know, again, a recruiter is going to look and see what kind of things you like and share. So you're liking and sharing IEEE stuff, they're going to say, hey, this person's really involved with IEEE, so they understand engineering, they might make a good employee. So I think what you have on here is good. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, noted.
Okay. So
Yeah.
and that's good advice for everybody. Okay, so let's
Yeah, I really like the insight of how you talked about like employers do look at all this stuff, right? As students, we're always concerned about how we present ourselves to employers. So that is a really, really good point that all students should, take into consideration.
Right. Yeah, because like I said, LinkedIn is your profile or your resume. I worked at a startup company as a manager, and I interviewed probably 200 to 300 people in the 7 years I was at that company. Every time I got a resume that I was interested in, the first thing I did as a manager is I went to their LinkedIn profile. And one of the things I would always do is if they didn't have a LinkedIn profile, most of the time that made their resume go off the list. The other thing is if I looked at their resume and I saw their experience on their resume and the experience on their LinkedIn profile didn't match, normally I would also put their resume to the side. So I discovered people saying that they worked at this company for 5 years, but then their LinkedIn profile shows that they only worked there for a year. Somebody's not telling the truth there. So I wouldn't put those people on the list of people that I would actually interview. So you want to make sure your resume and your LinkedIn profile match up pretty well, or almost perfectly, as far as that experience and how long you had that experience. So any discrepancies between your resume and your LinkedIn profile, you want to make sure you address those. That's important because recruiters and employers will look at that.
Yeah, that's some really good insight for, especially third and for like pre-final and final year students who are, seeking out for internships and jobs.
So now let's look at your experience. So I like how you have your IEEE on here. The thing that you need to do is you need to talk about what you're doing. So you're a vice chairperson. You need to include what you do as a vice chairperson or as an editorial board member. So you have content writer, that's good. But maybe you can say that you have written 10 articles that were posted on the website, or 3 articles that were put onto the IEEE PES website. So you want to show how what you did made an impact. Does that make sense?
Yes, got it.
So like here for your vice chairman, let's click over to my profile real quick. So I actually don't have much there. That's a bad example. So here you can see as at the company that I was at a startup, that was ZF Group, we made transmissions. So I was the lead and coach dedicated to problem-solving engineering teams using Shane and RedX, and we saved over $10 million of cost in 1 year. So it's what I did, but also the impact that I did. So that's what you want to have on there, is what you do and did at a company, but what was the big impact that you had at that company. So those are the types of things you should include in those sections. Okay.
Yes, got it.
Okay, I like the roles. That's good. Just add those details of what you did, and if you were just a student member and that's all you did, maybe you just describe that some of the activities that you did as a member. Maybe they had a monthly meeting, and you had made sure that you were at 10 of the 12 monthly meetings to show that you not only were a member, but you were an active member. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So let's go education. That's good. Shows that you're about to graduate, right? That's good.
Yeah, quite a while left, to be honest.
Seems like forever, but it'll fly by soon.
Yeah.
I like that. 6 Sigma Yellow Belt. That's good. So good certifications. Volunteer experience. That's good. Oh, wow, a recommendation. So
I've
this
given
was
one, yeah.
one that you were given. So you gave one to him. You might ask if he's willing to give one back to you.
Yeah,
The
he
other
is the chairperson of our student branch.
Okay.
Yeah.
So another good thing is if you have a favorite professor, it might be good for you to ask a favorite professor. So if you're their favorite student or one of their favorite students, you might ask them to also give a recommendation. That's a good place to start if you don't have a lot of work experience, to maybe get a professor to do that. I'm not sure whether they will or not, but it's a good place to start.
Sure. Yeah.
Interest. I like your interest. Melinda Gates. I'm a big Bill and Melinda Gates fan. They're doing wonderful things with their money.
Yeah.
And companies. That's good. So again, if Amazon's a company you want to work for, make sure you're following them before you send an application or a resume to them. Make sure you're following them on here if possible. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So overall, I like your profile. It's not too far off. The other thing that you'll have to do to get it to All-Star is you will have to get some more connections, and
Yeah.
you'll just need to do more activity. But I think you've got a good basis with the profile you have. So do you have any questions for me?
Yes, there are a few questions. Like for me, I'm all sorted. I think your perspective has really given me a lot of insights into what things I need to change and how to stop being lazy and finally do it. So yeah. Okay, so we have a few questions pertaining to these, like the profiles only. So, as for the activity, how to upload every day on LinkedIn? As you know, we don't have some, achievements or successes or getting something new done every single day. So, is it necessary to upload every day? And if yes, how can we do that?
Let's see. I don't think my camera's on right now. So earlier when my camera was on, I have bookshelves behind me. And I normally read at least one book a week. So for the last 5 years, I've read at least one book a week, and in some cases more than that. As I'm reading those books, ideas come to me, and I will take some of those ideas and share them as a post. And ideas, I do an ideation workshop. Ideas come from the intersection and crashing together of different ideas. So I might read something that's about innovation, and I might read something that's about um, business. And those two ideas, when they come crashing together in my head, I come up with a new idea. So I talk about my first TEDx. Just one second. Excuse me. In my first TEDx, I talk about teaching kids complex problem solving in grade school and high school. The idea for that is I wanted to teach kids fencing. I fenced in college and was actually at the Olympic qualifiers in 1992 and didn't end up making it to the Olympics, but I made it all the way to the qualifiers. So I have a passion for teaching kids fencing. And I have a passion for complex problem solving. One day, those two ideas hit together when I was talking with my son, and he asked me, "What is it you do?" And I told him, "I teach complex problem solving." He didn't understand what that meant. And I realized kids need to understand what statistical problem solving is in high school. So that was when I realized that we need to teach kids complex problem solving. So that was how I came up with the idea of my TEDx speeches. I wanted to teach kids something. I'm really good at complex problem solving. Why don't I teach them complex problem solving? And that was an idea worth spreading, and how I got my first TEDx talk. So long story short, if you're reading books and there's an idea that comes into your head, share it on LinkedIn. So if you have some kind of insight into something that's important to you, share it on LinkedIn. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, sir, I'm just going to message you a few links that I have gotten from, like, requests basically for people who want to get their profile reviewed.
Okay,
And the
perfect.
first one from those is, if you go down to my recommendations only, the person that I've given to recommendation, he's the chairperson of our student branch. So he really wanted, yeah, exactly that one, Virendra 98. He really wanted to get his profile checked by you. So maybe if you could do that.
Yeah, I like the picture. Making ideas happen. I love that slogan. That's good. That looks good. So it's got, these are LinkedIn pop-ups. The one thing that I would say is you've got chairperson at IEEE NCU. That's okay, but I would expand that. So you saw mine, it was husband, father, quality guy. You're more than just a chairperson at IEEE. Expand on that a little bit. You can use the worksheet to help you with that. But I would expand that to include some of the other things. So if you're a cricket player or you're a big fan of soccer, include maybe a soccer fan, something that you're passionate about, so you come across as more human when they first see that profile, if that makes sense.
Yes, definitely.
You got lots of connections. I like that. You've got your email, phone number. That's good. You're about. So again, this is good, but I would try to make it a little bit more personal. So these are the types of things that probably need to be down here underneath your experience. So as the section student network, that's where you would put these types of things. So your membership development coordinator, those are the things that you want to move down to your experience and talk about who you are. So why did you want to be an engineer? Tell us a little bit about who you are. So, what Simon Sinek talks about, start with why. What is your why? Why do you want to be an engineer? Is it to help create infrastructure? Is it to help take AI to the next level? What is it that you're passionate about? So capture a little bit more of the who you are and why you do the things you do and the about. It's where you're making that human connection with the people that want to hire you. So whenever you are trying to get hired by somebody, the person sitting on the other side of the table is normally thinking, would I want to work with this person day in and day out? And they may look and say, oh, well, they have all of the right experience and education, but would I really want to work with them day in and day out? So that's kind of what you want to describe in your about, is that you're a nice guy and that they would want to work with you. So hopefully that makes sense. So again, you can look at my profile to get a good idea, and the worksheet will help you with that as well. Okay?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir. I am Virendra Pratap, and I will work on that.
Okay. I like your use of the featured. That's good.
Yes.
I think that's a great tool on LinkedIn that they've added. I've said it before. I'm a huge fan of that. Your activity's good. Good following. 2,300 people is good. That's real good. And looks like you're on LinkedIn most days.
Yes, sir. I'm quite active there.
Okay, that's good. Excuse me. So when we go down to experience, again, lots of experience on here, but like I said, take those comments that you had up above and talk about how you've made an impact in those positions. So as the membership development coordinator, if you took the IEEE from 10 members to 50 members, that's what you want to show. You took a 5-time increase in memberships when you became the membership development coordinator. So those are the types of things that you want to have underneath there. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Same thing for student activities and leadership subcommittee member. Maybe once you became a member, you ended up going from having one activity a quarter to doing one activity a month, because you came up with some great ideas for the students to do, those types of things.
Yes, sir. Sir, I've mentioned some of my experience, the detailed explanation of what I've done, like in the internship, research intern. I've mentioned what I've done in the internship, what I learned from my mentors. So it's there in some of them.
Okay. Yeah, and so I like that. I've been successfully able to implement its use within my university campus. So I like that. That's a good example. And I like that too. Sharpen my coding skills in C+ language. I like that wording. That's good. I love that wording. I adopted the mindset of an engineer. That's great. It's kind of scary, but that's great.
Yes.
I'm an engineer. My wife's an engineer. My oldest son is an engineer. My youngest son is studying to be an engineer. So I'm a big fan of engineers. But if engineers ruled the world, everything would be better, but it would be a very scary world. So again, just keep expanding on the impacts that you've made in your positions. I think that's a good start.
Sure,
You got some outside activities, which is good. And so you've got your endorsements. That's good as well. So make sure that you've got at least 5. So at least 5 is important as far as letting recruiters see you. So that's good. To get those numbers up, you've got 2,300 connections. Go to some of your connections, and if you see that they have something that you're familiar with, that you think they're good at, go ahead and endorse them for that. And then maybe some of them will come back and do the same for you, and those numbers will go up.
Yes, sir.
8 recommendations. Ooh, that's really good. You're making me look bad. So maybe you can teach the part of the class on how to get recommendations. You're better at it than I am.
No, sir, definitely not. I just reached out to my professors and the people whom I worked in the past, and they readily accepted that offer.
Okay, and that's a great way to do it. So, reaching out to past bosses or even coworkers and people that you've helped make an impact with. So that's a great way to do that. I need to do the same thing. Like I said, you've taught me something, which is great. And accomplishments, I like that. Several good accomplishments there. It's good. And interest, that's good as well. Okay. Overall, I think you have a nice profile, and I think your connections show that you have a nice profile. And I would be surprised when you look at your profile, does it describe it as an all-star profile? You're getting really close.
Thank you, sir. I will definitely work on the suggestions given by you. And thank you for giving your time, sir.
Hey, no problem.
So we have a few questions.
Okay.
So what are first, second, and third connections, and how are they different from each other?
First connections, and let me.
When we search for people, like in the search bar, and we find that there's something mentioned like first, second, and third, right?
Yep.
So what exactly are those, and what's the significance?
So here's a good example. So I have 6,174 connections. So I mentioned that I know Christina, and I connected with her, and we're now connected, right? So she connected with me 3 minutes ago. These are all of the people that I have a first connection with. So we are connected directly on LinkedIn. And let's do a search. And let me try to think of. somebody I'm not connected with, which is tough to do. Actually, I'm just going to
maybe you can just okay, maybe you can just search from the names of the profiles I sent you.
so Peter Gruber. Peter Gruber is an author. He wrote a book called Tell to Win. Is that right? Yeah. So I am a second connection with Peter Gruber. So it looks like Peter is not very active on LinkedIn. He only has 271 connections. But we have 3 mutual connections. So because we have 3 mutual connections, that makes him a second connection to me. Okay. Yeah. So it looks like he knows Rohit and Mark and one other. Who's the other? Darren Hardy. Okay. So these are other authors that he knows that I've connected with. And we're not a first connection, but it also looks like he doesn't make a lot of connections on LinkedIn. So I wouldn't probably connect with him just because it doesn't look like he's very active. So now when you look over here, this is people also viewed these people. So here you can see it's a third connection. So actually let's click here because he's got a LinkedIn profile. So he has 6,605 followers and he owns a talent agency in Beverly Hills. So we have no mutual connections. So he's a third connection because we have no mutual connection. So that's the difference between first, second, and third. First, we're connected directly. Second, we have a mutual connection, but we're not connected. And third, we have no mutual connections. Okay, so does that make sense?
Yes, sir. So
here's an example. Gwyneth Paltrow. She was in all the Marvel movies, right? We have no connections, but it doesn't look like she's on LinkedIn. So, so like several actors are on there, like Jessica Alba, who owns Honest Company. So different things like that. So I could reach out to Gwyneth. If I was going to connect with Gwyneth, I would click more and I would do connect and I would do, she wants to verify. So she wants an email. So I would have to know her email since we're third connections and have a personal note plus her email to be able to connect with her. So I can't do that. Let's go back to Jeremy. So it looks like with Jeremy, yeah, he's the same way. He made it so that I can't connect with him without his email. And so that's a security thing that people can do. I would venture to guess Peter may do the same thing. Okay, so I was able to connect with Peter, but I would personalize my note. So for Peter, I would say, Peter, just read your book and would appreciate connecting. And I put my name. Okay.
Yeah, for anybody who needed clarity, we had a question on this as well, like how to send personal invitations. So I think that's a good example of that.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It can just be simple like that. But let them know why you're connecting. If you're trying to connect with somebody because they work at Amazon and you want to work at Amazon, don't say, I see you work at Amazon and I wanted to connect with you because I want to work at Amazon. That's not the right way to do it. But if you see someone works at Amazon and they also volunteer at their church or with an organization that you're involved with, so maybe they're a member of Toastmasters, you can say, I'm a member of Toastmasters. I see you're a member of Toastmasters. Connect with them. Then later on, after you've communicated several times, say, hey, I would love to work at Amazon. Do you know who I could talk to at Amazon about getting an opportunity there? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. So do we have time to squeeze in one more profile review?
Sure.
Sure. So if you check in the message that I sent you, I think it might be the last, the third last profile, Yatharth P. The one that says it, the third last.
This one?
I think your pointer is stuck at. Wait, I'll just send it again. Just give me a second.
So which name was it?
You won't be able to pronounce it actually. Yeah, I've sent it. I've sent it again.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I like the picture. That's looks customized. That's another thing that you can do. Canva is an app where you can create pictures and make customized. And if you look, Canva will have Facebook dimensions, LinkedIn dimensions to be able to make those. So this is good. I like that. That's a great tool to use, is Canva. Canva, Canva, and you can make those types of things. I like your profile name. I would, again, just add maybe something in there that makes it a little bit more personal. I like the picture. It kind of has that cool halo effect. I like that.
Thank you, sir.
Contact info. Okay, so I can email you, which is good. It's always important to have your email in there because sometimes people will connect with you on LinkedIn and try to reach out to you on LinkedIn. And if you're not on LinkedIn all the time, then that will cut that connection. So it's good to have your email so they can follow up if they really want to talk to you about a job or something like that. So always have your email. Okay, I like your about. I think you could probably add up to it, but I do root cause analysis of every situation. I love to create projects. That's what I'm looking for, is those things that you're passionate about. I love those two things. I do root cause analysis and I love to create projects. That's what you want to say in that about. So keep expanding on that kind of language. Does that make sense?
Totally, sir. And if I can say that I used to produce music, should I even mention that? Like, I used to produce music, I used to make this stuff back in the days, and I have like combined skill set of all of those.
And I would say yes. And here's a reason why. When I look at a resume, and I know a lot of people that when they look at a resume, they're looking for something that's unique or different. So one of the things that I have on there is that I was an Olympic qualifier fencer. So I went to the Olympic qualifiers in fencing. That's on my resume. It's not on my LinkedIn profile, but it's on my resume. And the reason I do that is people look at that and they say, this guy almost went to the Olympics, and it makes them stop and notice my resume. So that's what you're looking for, is the things that make it where people stop and say, ooh, that's kind of cool. So talking about the fact that you are a music producer, that's going to pique people's interest. And it's that curiosity that's going to want them to be interested in you and wanting to talk to you and learn more about you. So not only are you an engineering student, you also have a passion in music. You know, how did you go from passion in producing music to being an engineer? So, you know, how did that work? And people are going to want to talk to you to understand that. So I think that's a great thing to have there, especially in that about section.
So totally, sir, would take care of that.
Okay. Good activity. You're sharing and commenting, which is what you want to do. A lot of people will just like something, and liking is kind of the lazy social media. Sharing and commenting is active social media, and you want to be an active person on social media. If you don't have time to create post, that's okay. Make sure you're sharing and commenting. And even when you create a post, most of the time when I create a post, I don't take longer than 5 to 10 minutes to be able to create a post. So if you're taking longer than that, you're probably wasting your time, and it would be better to create maybe 2 or 3 minute post as opposed to making a half hour to make one really long post that maybe doesn't make as much of an impact. So what you want to do is put lots of posts out there, see what people like. If you share about music and engineering and IEEE, and you see that everybody reacts to the music and they like and share and comment on the post you made about music, then share more and comment more about the music. So that's what you're trying to find, is what connects with your audience. So if your audience is all engineers and they like to like and share the IEEE information that you put out there, then talk about that. Does that make sense as well?
Totally, sir. That is definitely. And I have shared the video that I actually made on my channel, and someone actually who is the part of their video, they actually made a post about it, and I shared that.
Okay, good.
So that's
I like your, excuse me. I like your experience. You have helped, and I like how you helped evangelize Microsoft Teams across the university. That's great. That's what I'm talking about, where how did you make an impact? So you made an impact where Teams is something that they use across the entire campus. That's a great example of what I'm looking for in those descriptions. Okay? You've got your skills. So you've got plenty of skills on there. Like I said, you might just focus on trying to get more people to like your skills.
right.
And so you've given one recommendation. I liked, I forgot the gentleman's name that we looked at first.
Virendra.
So I guess it was Verandra. It was his, right? So he reached out to professors and friends. Do the same thing. That's a great recommendation on how to get recommendations. And I like your interest. Again, if there's a company that you want to work for when you graduate, make sure you're following those companies. Okay?
Totally.
But overall, I like your profile. It's a nice, strong looking profile.
Thank you, sir.
If I looked at your profile and I was looking to hire somebody, I would definitely want to talk to you just by looking at your profile. So that's good.
Thank you, sir. And I'll make the changes you mentioned, and possibly like add more of myself out there.
Okay. And if anybody, as you go through the worksheets, if you update your LinkedIn profile, go ahead and send me a message within LinkedIn asking if I can look at your profile and give you any feedback after you've gotten your profiles updated. go ahead and do the worksheets, update your profiles, reach out to me, and I'll take a look at them and give you any feedback that I see. Okay?
That'll be great, sir. A lot of people requested for the profile review, and we're quite short on time now.
Yeah.
So, sir, do you have any other invaluable information for all of us? We'll be happy to listen to you talk for a lot more time than we got.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have another meeting in 10 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
I apologize.
Yeah, so
I've enjoyed this though.
Thank you for the enlightening session, sir. I'm sure all of our attendees would have gained clarity on how to successfully make their profiles on LinkedIn and how to utilize this powerful tool effectively. We're now towards the end of the session. Again, thank you for such a wonderful talk. And we will be sharing the feedback form in the WhatsApp group, as well as we'll be emailing it to all of you. And we have a small quiz for all of you, the link to which has been shared in the WhatsApp group. So the PPT that sir showed, the resource book, all of it has been shared with you, and we'll drop you an email again. So thank you so much, sir. It's been wonderful talking to you. You've taken up a lot of your time today.
Oh, no problem. Well, you guys know how to connect with me on LinkedIn. Feel free to also check out the online summit. If you're interested in a TEDx talk, the summit is good. You can sign up for free. And when we relaunch in January, you'll get your access to the online summit in January and be able to see me interview 50 different TEDx speakers and coaches and learn not just about TEDx, but how to be a better speaker and presenter of ideas, which as engineers, you guys have lots of ideas and you have to be able to be good at sharing those throughout your careers. And watching those videos to learn that will be a great way to do that. Okay?
Thank you. We will definitely be there, sir.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, sir. It's been a great pleasure and a great honor to have you here with us today. As for the quiz will start sharp at 9:30, I believe, and it's a 20-minute quiz, very simple, very effective, and the winners of the quiz will also get a certificate of achievement. So thanks a lot, sir. It's been a great honor. Thank you.
Okay. How about I do this? You said the winner of the quiz. What is the winner of the quiz? Is that the person with the highest score? Is that what you're thinking? Or are you going to draw out a name?
Yes, sir. The person who has the highest score in the least amount of time.
Okay. Well, let's do this. If you email me the person's name with the highest score and give me their email address, not only will they have the free access to the summit, I will give that person lifetime access to the summit so they can watch it for as long as they would like. Just give me their email of whoever that is. Okay?
That is a great perk, sir. I'm sure all of these people here would definitely be more enthusiastic about it now. So okay. You all have a great perk, for taking up the quiz. So thank you for that, sir. Means a lot.
No problem. That's normally almost a $200 item that I sell. So I'll give that to that person for free.
Thank you, sir. It means a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a great pleasure having you here, sir. So I believe we're at the end of the session. As I've already shared sir's profile in the WhatsApp group, his LinkedIn profile, you can all go and connect with him. I'm sure he'll be happy to connect with all of you. If you wish to, you can connect with me and my team as well. So, and that's a wrap. Thank you all. Have a good night, and sir, have a good day ahead.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.